Welcome back to Close Up. When we last dealt with the energy topic here, it was December, and the discussion centered on the possibility of rolling blackouts if it got cold enough in the winter. Thankfully, that extreme cold never came, and prices are falling. Even with some favorable indicators, there's lots to talk about and learn from. Donald Priest, New Hampshire's consumer advocate, who joins us here today. Thanks for being here, Don.
Great to be back.
So the cold didn't come. We've had a bit of a mild summer. These prices are falling. Give us the energy outlook right now in New England.
Well, the good news is that, say, if you're an Eversource customer, I brought my handy little cheat sheet, your monthly bill, if you use about 600 kilowatt hours a month, is about $146. Just a few months ago, it would have been $191, and a year ago, it would have been $201. So we've seen, because of changes in the global natural gas market, we've seen an easing of electricity prices and natural gas prices. So that's good news for New Hampshire energy users.
What is fueling this drop in prices? Is stabilization from what was going on in Ukraine, or?
Well, it isn't just Ukraine, but it's the global market in natural gas. Ukraine is a big factor, but not the only one. And, you know, here domestically, we're using more renewable energy, we're doing more energy efficiency, and I think that eases some of the upward pressure on prices as well.
When you were here in December, you were saying this idea of rolling blackouts in the winter was something we're not going to be able to get away from for a while. But given what's happened now, has that outlook changed at all, or we still need to be aware of this threat?
I do have a crystal ball in my office, and what the crystal ball is saying to me is that the danger of rolling blackouts is not as great as we had feared it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
Let's talk about net metering. There's a lot on the docket right now. Just explain what the future is going to be and is going to look like in the years ahead with net metering.
I think that the PUC is taking another look, because the legislature told it to, at what we pay people for exporting energy to the grid. And the good news is that the rate we have now is more or less right, but we're going to try and refine it. New Hampshire lags behind the other states, our neighbors, when it comes to net metering. And the trick is getting it right so that people have the incentives they need to do net metering, but don't get overcompensated, so that people who don't net meter are paying unreasonable subsidies to the folks who do.
Right. And those incentives right now, do we see enough? I mean, at the consumer level, obviously there are big projects, but is it economical yet for someone to say, hey, I want to put a lot of solar panels on my house?
I think it's getting more economical because the price of solar panels keeps going down.
You know, we've seen community power get off the ground in the last few months. Give us the outlook there. This is the idea that, you know, municipalities banding together to get better rates for ratepayers in their towns and cities.
So right now, if you do nothing and you're, say, an Eversource customer, you're taking their default energy service, and it isn't, I don't think it's really going to be the best deal in town. If your municipality has opted for community power aggregation, it means that your municipality becomes essentially the default provider of electricity. And we have already seen several programs roll out. The biggest one is a big alliance called the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, and they're beating the utilities and the competitive energy suppliers and getting some pretty good deals for their customers. Now, I want to be careful and not to overpromise about community power. You know, they're playing in the same wholesale electricity market that everybody else is, so they can't, you know, there's no magic bullet that they have. But I think over the long run, because they're really acting as the agent of the people who are using their electricity, I think they're going to get some really good deals over the long term.
When we've talked about community power here in the past, I've asked people, the advocates and things like that, it almost sounds too good to be true. Where is the risk going here? Because it feels like this, like I said, like there's a deal here that is almost too good to pass up for consumers.
Well, the risk is that at any particular point in time, it might not be the cheapest rate. Right. And so you might be on community power and you might look and see that the utility's offering a lower rate, or some competitive suppliers are offering a lower rate. I think that people should be cautious about being freaked out about that kind of situation, because again, you have to think about the long term, and we know that residential energy customers like long-term price stability. They like to be able to know predictably what their electric bill and what their gas bill is going to be, and I think community power is the likeliest route to that kind of certainty.
You've been raising your voice lately about these asset conditioning projects. You know, expand, repair, replace parts of the grid. Apparently, it doesn't sound very exciting, but $5 billion worth of projects proposed. A, is anybody paying attention to what is actually being built on, proposed here, and B, what should be done about it?
Well, so if we build a new transmission project here in New England, it gets all kinds of skeptical scrutiny. But when the transmission owners, the biggest of which is Eversource, decides to basically spend a lot of money maintaining an existing facility or upgrading it, nobody's really looking at that for prudence. Is this money being well spent? And it turns out that there's like $5 billion of these so-called asset condition projects in the pipeline. Now, that's region-wide, New England-wide, but we pay about 10% of those costs. So you're looking at $500 million of utility investments that are essentially going unscrutinized. And from my standpoint, and the standpoint of my counterparts around the region, that's scandalous, and it just can't be allowed to continue. So we are on a big quest to change that.
And the PUC, I think, is taking a look into some of those projects right now.
A feisty citizen activist named Chris Pastoriza has asked the PUC to open an investigation, and of course Eversource said, "Oh, no, don't do that." And so we'll see if I've asked the PUC to move forward with it. We'll see what the PUC does.
And as we wrap up here, the PUC, I think I had seen something you were talking about recently, asking utilities to consider exposing default service customers to a little bit more risk in the wholesale market. What are the pros and cons of following that advice?
The wholesale market on a daily basis is pretty volatile, and the PUC is saying, well, maybe a little bit of exposure. It makes me anxious and nervous. I really think residential customers do not want to be twisting in the wind in the wholesale electricity market in New England. It's just too volatile.
All right, and you're normally a pretty optimistic guy, but like you were saying, some of the gloom and doom we were talking about 8 months ago, a little bit less risk now.
Yes, I do feel optimism for sure.
All right. New Hampshire's consumer advocate, Donald Creese, thank you so much for Crease, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your time here on Close Up.
Thank you for having me.